It is time for the return of the OTB AM Crystal Ball. There we go, our brand new theme tune for this. Our 2020 sporting calendar Crystal Ball was a raging success. I think you'll all remember. We sat down around this table and we didn't get anything wrong because all the sport was called off. So the last Crystal Ball we did was a massive success. Today we are gazing into the Crystal Ball for the 2020-21 Premier League season. Ger Gilroy, Nathan Murphy and Stephen Doyle are with us. 10 predictions, folks, that are definitely going to happen. Together we will successfully predict the entire season. These 10 questions, all you got to do is fill in the blanks or answer the either-or question. It is as simple as that. The first one we are looking at this morning, folks. Of the traditional Big Six, aka Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham and Manchester United, blank is going to finish in the lowest position. Fill in the blank, Stephen Doyle.
Tottenham.
Why?
Well, I'm just looking at all those clubs. I think Liverpool and City are definitely... Well, I'm not even... We'll go into it a bit more later on, but I don't think City are guaranteed second place. But I think Liverpool, City, United and Arsenal are the clubs. Look, Liverpool and City look the most stable out of those 4 to 6 clubs. I think United have signed well. I think they will improve a bit on last season. And then you're kind of looking at Chelsea and Tottenham. I think Chelsea have signed so many players. You're kind of wondering, how's this all going to, if Lampard is such an inexperienced manager and all of a sudden he has to make all these players gel together. I think he's going to struggle with that. And then I'm looking at Mourinho, and I just think Mourinho's lacked motivation over the last few seasons. We've seen it both with Chelsea and Tottenham and Manchester United as well. He's lost that bit of old magic. Signed a couple of decent players. That Doherty fella isn't too bad. But I just think Tottenham, out of those 6 teams, I think are the team that don't have the quality that the other 5 have. And I think Mourinho might... I'd even struggle to see Mourinho finishing out the season with Tottenham if things start going badly. So that is my reason for Tottenham to finish the lowest out of those top 6.
I think we're probably going to have 4 Tottenhams here, are we? What do you reckon, Nathan?
Yeah, it's Tottenham or Arsenal, but Arsenal have shown enough probably between the Cup final and the Community Shield to show that they're not going to be as easily beaten, and they have in Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, someone who'll get a lot of goals for them, and they should create enough chances, and Arteta's shown signs that he can somehow bring this team together. I still think there are going to be moments along the season where we go, geez, same old Arsenal, which will probably rule them out of finishing inside the top 4, but that is not a good Spurs squad right now. Matt Doherty's a good signing, but he's not going to transform the way they play. He's an upgrade on Serge Aurier. Like Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, again, a good player, but they're sort of signing... They need something transformational. Or
what about Joe Hart? That's transformational.
Well, Joe Hart, what he brings to a dressing room, you can't really put a price on that. The one thing with Tottenham is if Mourinho, if he has that moment, maybe today, in the showers with Dele Alli, Dele, you're going to be one of the best players in the world. I'm going to make you that guy. Like the conversation he had in the documentary with Harry Kane. You're well known in England, but are you a worldwide superstar? I'm a worldwide superstar. Maybe if you come with me, you can be a worldwide superstar. Like Dele Alli's been the biggest disappointment in English football over the last couple of years. He should be a worldwide superstar. If you could get him back, then maybe somebody like him could bring Spurs. But I just think defensively at the moment, they're nowhere near where they were 3-4 years ago when they're the best defence in the Premier League. And there's just a total lack of quality throughout, with the exception of Harry Kane. So they may not even finish in the top 6.
I don't think they're going to concede goals, though. They're not going to be... There will never be a Mourinho team who goes out and gets beaten 3-0, 3-0, 3-0 and concedes or is trying to win games 4-3, irrespective of the fact that they're slightly imbalanced. I actually think, just for the sake of argument here, rather than it being for Spurs, because that's the obvious one, I think that there's a lot of hype about Arteta. It'll be interesting to see how much more business they do in the transfer window. They've managed to keep Aubameyang, but he's been there for a while and he hasn't scored enough goals to get them into the top 4 just yet. Spurs is the obvious answer here, and I accept that. But I'm going to say the jury is out, and I'm certainly not drawing any conclusions from the Community Shield. Nathan just said we've seen enough in the FA Cup final, the Community Shield. I'm like, no, it's a glorified friendly. I'm throwing that out. It bears no relevance to what's coming in the next 9 months of football.
Hang on a minute though, Ger. Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Mikel Arteta has done something that none of those managers did at their clubs and win a trophy within his first season. The FA Cup.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's only the FA Cup. And it doesn't have any relevance on whether or not they're going to finish the top 6 in the Premier League next year. Look, the obvious answer is clearly Spurs. I think that people are seeing a little bit of Mourinho and they don't like what they see from the documentary, and they think that everything is completely finished with him. But this is his last chance. This is absolutely the last chance of one of the greatest football managers of his generation to do something in English football that matters or that means anything. And he's clearly going to make the team better defenders than they were, more defensive-minded than they were. And look at the array of attacking talent they have. If Kane stays fit and if Son stays fit, their attacking ability on the field is, on paper, as good as almost anything in the Premier League. So I give them a better chance of finishing in the top. We're talking the difference between 5th and 6th here. So
I don't even know if we're talking the difference 5th and 6th. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these teams, or both of them again, ended up finishing outside the top 6. That a Wolves, a Leicester could be right in there again, or one or two others. Like, that's the one thing with this crystal ball. I've never been more unsure about what's going to happen in a Premier League season, because are we going to see supporters back? Are we going to have all the games again behind closed doors? You look at the fixture list. Every single week of the season, all these top players are going to be playing twice a week, relentlessly. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be a lot of chaos in this season. And I think there's an opportunity for a couple of teams to put a bit of a push on for the top 6 if they can get a bit of momentum going early. And yeah, listen, I think Spurs may well be defensive. I don't think that necessarily means they're going to be defensively strong. They just don't have the individuals.
Right, question number 2 here. And don't be saying that you don't know what's going to happen in the crystal ball. The crystal ball is a concrete set of predictions of what's going to happen. None of these things can possibly go wrong. So for Tottenham Hotspurs as the team that's going to finish the worst of the traditional top 6. Oh, so you're saying Arsenal, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, Arsenal are going to finish below Spurs. Grand. So 3 Spurs, 1 Arsenal. Number 2, blank will finish 3rd. Fill in the blank, Nathan.
Go on, Steve-O.
Is this 2nd or 3rd? Is it 3rd, yeah?
3rd.
3rd, okay. I'm going to shock you here. Manchester City.
Manchester City to finish 3rd. So you're obviously pushing Chelsea into 2nd place here. Give us your reasoning for this.
I'm obviously pushing Manchester United into 2nd place. Yeah. Well, look, United could go anywhere here, really, because I've been arguing all through this pre-season that United need to buy a better defender than Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof, and I know they haven't strengthened there, but I like what they've got in the front 6. I even wonder, will they change their formation maybe to a 4-3-3 now they've got Donny van de Beek in here. I think he's going to be the most. I think Van de Beek is going to be the best signing of all the top 6 clubs this season. I think he's going to be really good for Manchester United. I think he's going to get them the goals from midfield that they've really been wanting since Paul Scholes left the club. I think he's going to play a big part. I think their attack will need to improve, and I think it will improve. I was just looking at the goals scored there for last season. 66 goals for Manchester United compared to 85 for Liverpool and 102 for Manchester City. Like, that's a big gap there, and I think United will get better because the last few games of the season, Martial and Rashford and Greenwood were starting to improve. They were starting to understand each other a little bit better, I think. I think that's going to kick on this season. And I think Manchester City, I don't know, Kevin De Bruyne was talking about wanting to leave the club if the appeal against the UEFA ban wasn't going to go through. And you're kind of thinking, then maybe his teammates are going to start thinking, well, is this guy really committed to this club? I just think as well, Pep Guardiola, he's been there this is 4th season now, is it, with City? He's longer than any club he's been with previously. I'm just wondering, are the players starting to get a bit tired of his, disciplinarian methods and that kind of thing? And I just think I can see City falling away a little bit this season. I don't think they're going to be as good. I think what happened to them in the Champions League might affect them mentally as well going into the start of the season. They won't get off to as good a start as they did the last couple of seasons. And I just think Manchester United might capitalise on that. And I think they're going to get in ahead of them, and City will finish 3rd.
Nathan?
Chelsea. Signed brilliantly. Just to finish third, just have so much talent that even Frank Lampard can't screw this up. The wealth of options they have to play in those front three positions, even the three midfield positions, I just can't see them not scoring a huge amount of goals. They'll have to have done some work defensively, and they'll have made some defensive signings with Bell and Chilwell coming in. The centre halves, they're obviously looking to sort that out as well. So if they can get a keeper in, it looks as though Kepa's not going to be the number one. They conceded a lot of goals from set pieces and the keeper making mistakes. You sort out the two of them and you're going to score as many. I think they will finish third and may even push for a top two place if they can keep Christian Pulisic fully fit. Even a couple of injuries, and they have any amount of depth to fill in. The other question is what he does with N'Golo Kante. I know you spoke about this yesterday. Kante for me is still the best midfielder of his type in the Premier League, if not in world football, and he has to find a place for him. He's miles ahead of Jorginho and Kovacic. I know they're not the exact same type of player. You had Billy Gilmour to come back in sometime November, December maybe as well and add a little bit of freshness. I'm really excited to see what Chelsea do, and I think they will finish, without giving everything away, but I think they'll finish top three and maybe even push for the top two.
Ger?
Liverpool.
To finish third.
Yes. Liverpool are on the season here where the eggs are back in the Champions League basket. The obsession with the Premier League and winning the Premier League title is gone, and they've no strength in depth. They got very lucky with injuries over the last couple of years, and we've done their depth chart, and it's grand. But as soon as you start to scratch away at that front three, if two of them go down at the same time, it's Divock Origi and one of the kids. And is Ryan Brewster ready for the weight of expectation of carrying a title challenge? I don't think so. And I actually don't think they care that much about winning the league this year as much as they have done in the past. I think that relentlessness week in, week out in the league is not going to be there. And they're going to try and periodize the season around the Champions League because, let's face it, to be a great team, winning a second Champions League is the definition of it. A second Champions League in 3 years would define them as an all-time great team.
I thought the definition, Jesus, a month ago, a definition of a great team was you had to win back-to-back Premier League titles. Now you have to win 2 Champions Leagues in 3 seasons. Which is it?
I mean, any of those
they
claim to be a great team.
You're spending too much time with Daniel Harris, where you're sort of rotating what great is to a very small little package that only Manchester United in 1999 can fit into.
They didn't win. I mean, they won a treble, so that's pretty amazing. But they didn't win 2 Champions Leagues. It's like Alex Ferguson underachieved in the Champions League. We all know that as a matter of fact. He did not do as well in the European Cup as he should have done, given the riches that he had at his disposal. I actually think Jurgen Klopp is going to look at the season and go, I haven't strengthened. I've been given no money to strengthen this team. What am I going to do? Am I going to try and win absolutely everything and push everybody to the point where we get exhausted at the end again and we have injuries in the biggest game in the Champions League? No, I'm going to say that they're going to put all their eggs in the Champions League basket. And I don't know who's going to win the league. I mean, we'll find out in a couple of minutes' time when I make my call, but that's it. They're finishing third for me.
I'd agree with a lot of what Ger says around Liverpool. I think the one thing that actually can give Liverpool confidence is that Manchester City are in something it feels of a similar boat. It's not as though their main rivals from the last few seasons have massively strengthened. The questions that were there for City last season are still there in terms of Sergio Aguero, can he stay fit? Can he continue to score the amount of goals? And even with Nathan Ake coming in, are they going to be better defensively? So, Liverpool or Manchester United having a big dip this season, either one of them wouldn't be a huge shock, I don't think.
I'm with City.
The other thing as well, I think you also have to look as well, lads, I'm just going over the last 6 seasons. Generally, the best or the teams that finish in the top 2 are the teams with the best defence. Okay, it's about not conceding goals. City scored 102 goals last season, but they had 4 or 5-0 wins, a couple of 4-0 wins. 4 1-0 victories is as good as 1 4-0 victory, if you know what I mean. Scoring all these goals really doesn't matter. It's all about not conceding. And out of all those top clubs, who's got the best defence? It's still Liverpool. Liverpool still have the best back four and the best goalkeeper. Alisson is the best goalkeeper. He's better than Ederson now. And I think that, they've bought well. They've bought good, or they've got good backup there for their back four.
Like, is
Sorry?
Van Dijk literally going to play every minute again of the season? And is that the right thing to do for Liverpool?
But does he not have as
Yeah.
good a chance as any player of doing that? Injuries are not they're not totally randomised. You can look at injury form. That has an attachment to form as well. And we know that in the health department, Liverpool have been in very good form over the last couple of years. Yes, they played a lot of games, but the information we have suggests that Liverpool are one of the more robust teams, the most robust team in the Premier League.
They're very robust.
Absolutely.
They really
And they're far more mentally strong than Manchester City. That is the one thing we won't know until we get into the season.
Yeah.
Like City's mental deficiency. The games they lost. Remember, they lost every single game of importance last season. No Vincent Kompany. Nobody stepped up. David Silva's gone as well. So they have a huge amount to do, I think, to win back probably the trust of their own fans and everybody else, that they can do it when it actually matters.
For sure.
Well,
And also mentally City as well, because look, they've just bought the centre half that they just bought, Nathan Ake, was relegated last season. He's absolutely been exposed playing for the Netherlands during the week. This guy is a decent player, but he's not a very good centre half. He's nothing of the class of Virgil van Dijk. And the other thing as well is, in the match against Lyon, the Champions League, who was the player that gave away the ball for Lyon to have that breakaway goal? Aymeric Laporte. That was their solid man, the man that they could rely on at the back. How's his head going to be after coming back from that Champions League failure with Manchester City?
Well,
I just think they're just so brittle at the back. It's incredible.
We wish him well in his battle against coronavirus, of course, Aymeric Laporte. It's a situation here where we've got Manchester City, Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, and Liverpool as your three picks. I'm going for Chelsea. I'm siding on Nathan's side here as the team to finish third. Number 3, the first manager to be sacked is going to be blank. Nathan, you lead us off on this one.
Oh, I think there's a couple of very strong contenders. I'm going to go with Roy Hodgson, just ahead of Dean Smith. Palace have stagnated. They did not. The lockdown came at the worst possible time for them. They were probably the form team in the Premier League. They did nothing after the restart. They've spent a lot on the striker Easy, bringing him in from Queen's Park Rangers. Has looked very sharp in pre-season, but they need him to score goals because that has been the one problem. If Wilfried Zaha doesn't do it for Palace, nobody has done it. Maybe he transforms them and gets them into that solid mid-table spot, but Palace are in that position a lot of clubs have been in. They don't want solid mid-table. They feel they should be getting something extra. Like, I don't think they should be, but I think that means there's a pressure on Roy Hodgson and they're just a little bit bored with him. Likewise, Villa and Dean Smith, like, he could have gone 4 games from the end of last season. Fortunately for Villa, they stuck with him. But it's hard to see Villa not being in the relegation mix again. So one of those two, but like there's a lot of managers with the way the transfer window has gone and the money that has been spent, the likes of Ancelotti, Bruce, Lampard, who if they were to have a run of 5 or 6 games could go quickly as well. But I think right now, Hodgson and Smith are the main two who are under pressure right from the off.
Steve-O?
Yeah, Pep Guardiola. No, I'm only joking. It's not Pep Guardiola. I'm kind of been thinking about this. Like Nathan, I think Hodgson and Smith definitely front runners for this. As Nathan says, I think there's going to be a lot of contenders. I'm going to go with Scott Parker, and my reasoning for that is because Fulham, I still don't think they've got a good squad, good enough to stay in the Premier League. They might add to that before the season starts and before the transfer window closes, and also in the winter transfer window. But I just think that, Fulham have already shown that they've got a bit of a happy trigger finger there when it comes to sacking managers this last season that they were up in the Premier League. So I just think because the squad doesn't look too great, Scott Parker, he did very well to get them up to the Championship or up from the Championship. But I just don't think he's going to get an awful lot of time to prove himself in the Premier League if things start going badly. So like Nathan, I think Hodgson and Smith are really strong contenders as well. But I'm going to say Scott Parker.
I'm going for Scott Parker as well. And it's not just the fact that Fulham have a trigger finger, it's the fact that there's a good chance that Fulham are going to be in 20th position after a few weeks in the Premier League. And what happens when you're in 20th position? The manager tends to get fired. So Scott Parker, I think for me, is the candidate as well. Ger, who are you going for?
I'm going to go for an outsider here. I think the situation at Burnley, Sean Dyche doesn't deserve to get sacked, but he's been calling out his board for about 18 months. And we know traditionally people in power do not like to have their failings exposed publicly. They don't like the fans turning on them. And this, if they don't start well, could be a scenario to watch. Roy Hodgson is the obvious favourite. Like, that's the first one. 2 defeats in, they could get rid of him because of the way they finished the season. So and he's also at an age where everybody would understand that that's the right thing to do, where ageism plays into this as well. So I think that a good chance Palace want to upgrade him for somebody younger, sexier, and more famous.
Right,
Sean Dyche.
Sean Dyche. There, we could have a little bit of a merry-go-round here.
See any of those things?
So we got 2 Scott Parkers, we got a Roy Hodgson, and we got a Sean Dyche. That is question number 3. Now, question number 4, statement number 4. Liverpool will /will fail to eclipse 95 points for the first time in 3 seasons. So 2 extraordinary points tallies over the last couple of years. Ger, you may as well start us off on this one, and I presume you're just going to first off clarify that they will fail to eclipse 95 points, because that would be an extraordinary third place finish.
Yeah, it won't happen. I can see this year being, because of the way that the season is condensed, I can see the Premier League points totals coming back, more defeats, more surprise victories, and just hopefully a better season where it isn't a 2-horse/1-horse. It was a 1-horse race last season from around about the 3rd or 4th week of October. We kind of knew by that stage that Man City had already wet the bed, and as a result, the season was over. They're not going to be like this year. Liverpool, no thank you, I'm out.
Nathan?
Yeah, no chance. I think 85, 86 points will probably win the league this year. Same as Jared, the amount of games that they're going to play, players are going to be rotated that bit more. There'll be more draws. Like what Liverpool did last season pre-lockdown, winning practically every single match. That, you got to remember, it was insane. It was historically good run of form that they needed to get that level of points. So no, I think somewhere between 85 to 90 probably will be enough to win the title this season.
I presume you're hopping on board with this one as well, Stephen.
Yeah, because look, Liverpool, their only defeat before the lockdown was against Watford, that freak results against Watford, and then the other 2 defeats they suffered all season where it came after the lockdown, after they sealed the Premier League title. So I just don't, I can't see that happening again this year. They'll probably actually suffer 2 defeats even before the midway point this season, I would say. And as the lads are saying, just with the amount of fixture congestion we're going to see this season, and the amount of quality that the other teams have added to their teams, or the other clubs have added to their teams, I think we're definitely going to see Liverpool come in under 95 points. I still think, we won't reveal our title winners yet, but definitely under 95 points.
Well, that was a boring question. Well done, Eoin. I'm also with you. No, they won't get over 95 points. Number 5, Pep Guardiola will be more/less miserable come the end of next season. Stephen, I think we kind of know your take on this. He's going to be a more miserable man, may not even be the Manchester City manager this time next year.
Yeah, well, it's not even based on what I was saying about the league and how the league's going to go. Manchester City's holy grail is the Champions League. They want to win the Champions League, and they are not going to win it this season. It's not happening. And I think that's why Pep Guardiola is going to be miserable at the end of the season.
Nathan?
Yeah, I think regardless of what happens, whether they win the league or don't win the league, I think he's just in that stage of his life where, it's just more and more miserable no matter what happens. It's Jose Mourinho-esque that there is no joy. Unfortunately, listen, I'm still a few years short of it. Ger's heading towards it. Like, you're getting old. But you struggle to find the love of the game the way you once did, and he just needs to get on a sort of plateau where he's accepting of life, but he's not there yet. So it's just going to be pure misery and frustration, and everybody's out to get me. The paranoia is setting in.
Are we not to assume that Leo Messi will be at Manchester City at the end of this season, and he'll be there for pre-season next year, that irrespective of what happens at Barcelona, whether or not Xavi is coming, that the deal has essentially been done in everybody's heads, that those seeds have been sown? And so, of course, Guardiola's going to stick around to see what he can do with Messi. One last tour of the battlefield for these 2 old warriors. No? Is he not going to be way happier? And also, coming off the back of, I would suspect, a league-winning campaign.
Yeah, listen, if Messi's coming, who's going to beat them?
Yeah, in the league.
In a 1-to-1 match, or in terms of the entire finishing above them?
In the title race.
I think there's a very good chance Liverpool may finish above them again. Like City, there has been no real break since last season, and a month ago they were a team with massive frailties. So has he managed to fix that and turn it around? I'm not fully convinced. I think they're going to drop too many points against just too many points over the course of the season that they'll keep other teams in it. Yeah, they are favourites, and they're favourites for a reason because they have more depth than pretty much anybody else. But I don't think it's going to be as straightforward. I don't think they're going to get to 100 points or 90 points again. So they will be giving other teams a chance. But he just seems to be stuck in that rut of general Raheem Sterling missing from 3 yards out frustration.
Yeah, Man City winning the Premier League title this season is basically like you, Ger, opening up your Christmas present on Christmas morning and finding out that you got a pair of socks. That's the kind of joy Pep Guardiola will feel winning the Premier League this season. It doesn't really matter. The big thing for them is winning the Champions League. That's what he has to do that this season. And if he doesn't do it, good luck. See you later. He's gone. And I don't think he is going to win the Champions League. And that's why he's going to be as miserable as you feel on Christmas morning getting your socks.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think more miserable as well. He's 49, by the way, so a heads up for Pep Guardiola. It's just a heads up. What is the kind of the peak? Where does the curve top out when it comes to happiness? Just as a warning. This is
from Pep's perspective.
No, from your perspective. I mean, Nathan's saying 49 is where it's just misery every year. Is there an insight here?
I presume the best is yet to come on.
That's the positive note we wanted to end question number 5 on. Number 6, the Golden Boot winner is going to be blank. Ger, kick us off on this one.
I'm going to go for an outsider and say Raheem Sterling finally comes good. I think that's it's time for him to start scoring those goals. I wonder, will they be a bit more careful with Sergio Aguero's minutes, or do they actually flog him like a dead horse in the league and not play him in the big game? So, look, he is an outsider. I think he's around about 11-1. Salah's favourite at 5, Harry Kane 5, Aubameyang 11-2, Sergio Aguero 15-2, Timo Werner 9-1. So he's 6th favourite. It is an outsider, but I think it's a reasonable bet. How
can you make a case against Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang in this situation, given the lack of competition that he has internally, if you compare him with, say, the likely Liverpool lads, with a Jamie Vardy who is going to be another year older? The same thing that I said about Liverpool probably goes to a point again with Manchester City, and also what Stephen was saying earlier about Champions League. If there are compressed fixtures, as there will be with a more compressed season later in the year, which fixture is Pep going to pick? Is he going to rest Raheem Sterling for a Champions League last 16 game or a quarter-final? Of course he is. And then you get into the rest of the contenders. Are one of Chelsea's lads going to have a flying first season to the point where they actually outscore Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang? No. And then Manchester City have found themselves in a position where I don't see Anthony Martial putting in a consistent enough season to challenge him. And even if he is, there is a possibility that Mason Greenwood or Marcus Rashford will take a couple of goals off him. Crucially, Bruno Fernandes will take the penalty kicks. I think just by process of elimination and by his own brilliance, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is clearly the front runner for the Golden Boot.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree. I think Ger's right. Sterling is the value because he'll score a lot of cheap goals and City will rack up big score lines again and he will get his fair share of them. But Aubameyang is going to be Arsenal's chief breadwinner all season. He will take the penalty kicks. So therefore, if he stays fit, I always start the season feeling if Aguero plays 35 goals, he's going to get you at least 20. If he starts 35 games, he'll get you 25 goals. But is he going to start 35 games? He's probably not at this stage. I like Salah. He didn't have his greatest season last year, yet still got to nearly 20 goals. He'll be taking penalty kicks. And again, I think he's going to have a good season. I think he'll be probably feeling a bit of pressure to deliver this season. He wasn't one of the players picked in the team of the season. He wasn't one of the players been talked about as player of the season. And he always scores. He always scores more than you expect him to. So I think he deserves to be favourite. And yeah, I'm going to go with the favourite. I'm going to go with the obvious one and say Mo Salah.
Stephen?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. As you were talking about just there on, I just feel that I think Anthony Martial will be a really close contender. I just think because Manchester United have so many good attacking players that they're going to share the goals amongst them. And I would say the same for Manchester City. I've always I've actually backed Sterling for the last couple of seasons, but he does tend to, after some bursts of runs of goals, he tends to go quiet then for a few games. And I just think because I think City are going to struggle this season, I don't think Sterling's going to be up there contending. Jamie Vardy, I don't think Leicester are going to be as good as they have been the last couple of seasons. Vardy's getting old as well. And Aubameyang, if you look at him, he was tied for the Golden Boot there a couple of seasons ago, second last season. And I think now with Willian in the team as well, who's an assist machine, I think he's going to provide a lot of goals for Aubameyang, as Nathan said as well, penalty taker. So for all those reasons, yeah, I just think the Arsenal man is going to be top of the Golden Boot rankings at the end of the season.
One as an outsider, a real outsider, I think he's around. You might get him around 66-1. And if they are to have a good season and reap the rewards of their investment, Richarlison, who for me is the best player outside the top six. I know he may be playing
80.
off Dominic Calvert-Lewin. 80-1.
80-1 with Paddy Power.
You know, he's always getting into double figures in a bad team. But I think if this is an Everton side that can start scoring a lot of goals, I think Richarlison has a great chance of getting towards 20 next season.
Where's Danny Ings? Because I think Danny Ings is another one that's a good dark horse or outsider for this Golden Boot. You know, he's a natural born finisher. And
20-1.
Yeah, I think Danny Ings is a good shout as well. He had a really good season last season. I think he's really underrated, and I think it's actually quite disgraceful that Gareth Southgate didn't give him more time when he was away with England over the last couple of matches, playing Harry Kane. Again, flogging a dead horse up there. Yeah, but Danny Ings, definitely a good outside bet, I think, for top scorer.
Right, on to number 7. So we've got 2 Aubameyangs, we've got a Raheem Sterling, and we've got a Mo Salah there for our Golden Boot predictions. Number 7, there is a blank % chance that Leeds United will actually be terrible this season. Marcelo Bielsa will overthink everything, and the club will be back in the Championship in a year's time. Going to need a number here, Stephen Doyle, blank %. What are you going for?
0. I think Bielsa's going to do okay. He's such an experienced coach. He's got a good squad there. He's brought in Rodrigo from Valencia, who I think is going to tear it up for Leeds. I think he's going to be a successful signing. And yeah, I think he's going to have them pretty solid. They're going to be hard to break down. And I think they're going to be. You always get one club coming up from the Championship. Excuse me, that surprise everyone. You know, I don't know if you call it surprise. Maybe Leeds doing well with a manager as good as Bielsa, but I think they're going to finish up around the top half. Maybe a bit like Sheffield United last season. I think they've got good enough players, good enough squad there, and Bielsa at the helm. He's just so experienced. I think he's going to do well in his first season in the Premier League. So definitely, I think it's 0% chance that Leeds will be terrible.
Okay, right. That is a big statement considering they are a promoted team. I've gone for 30% just by dint of the fact that I think that there are enough teams in the Premier League who are worse than Leeds United. I think obviously we'll get into our bottom 3 in a while, but even the teams that might be in around the mid to lower reaches of the table, I think they could finish above Crystal Palace, above Newcastle, above West Ham. And I think they'll have a grand season, but I don't think they're going to have a Sheffield United season. I don't think they'll have anything on that level whatsoever. So I think they'll be grand. I just think that to say 0% is a really big statement, Stephen. I think that that is the sort of logic that, I don't know, that is really putting
hang on. The statement is that they will be terrible. Terrible. I don't think they're going to,
it's
maybe
true,
there's a 30%. There's a 30% chance that they'll be average, but I don't think they're going to be terrible.
Get relegated. Is that what you mean? No?
Get yeah, okay, let's go get, but there has to be, you can get relegated and as a newly promoted team you can put up a good old fight and all that sort of thing. I'm talking about a comprehensive relegation.
I don't think a comprehensive relegation, but I would say, I'd say there's a 75% chance they're in a relegation scrap. I do not see them being a Sheffield United. I don't see the quality of player there at all. I thought it was an average Championship last season. Okay, they ran away with it at the end. But that is listen, they've got the manager, clearly, who has a track record of being brilliant. But it's a whole different ball game now, the pressure they're going to be under in the Premier League. And I just do not see 11 players there who have the quality to make it straightforward for them. There's quite a few teams who are going to struggle. I think all 3 teams that have come up may find it quite tough this season. But I just don't see Leeds having anywhere near the quality to finish top half of the table.
Sure.
I would go with you. I'd say there's a 30% chance that they end up being relegated, which is roughly what their odds are at the moment. Look, they should be fine. They seem to have bought relatively well. He is a manager who has endless amounts of experience, and so will have seen all of the things that are coming his way at one stage or other in his career. I just think that their level of excitement, the absence of fans is going to hurt them much more than it would hurt
massively.
the other team.
I'm thinking about that Liverpool-Leeds game this weekend, and part of me is thinking, geez, it's a terrible game for Liverpool to have to start with Leeds back in the Premier League, even though it is at Anfield and, Liverpool unbeaten there in 3 years. But then you think, actually, there's no fans. So, there's not 5,000 Leeds fans behind that Liverpool goal. it just feels actually that the absence of fans from Elland Road in particular is going to be hard to take for Leeds.
For sure. Right, let's move on to question number 8 this morning. Everton are going to finish blanked. Stephen, you were on with us yesterday on Deal or No Deal. You essentially said they can penetrate the top 6. So what are you going for here?
Yeah, I think they have quality there now in what they've signed. They brought in Doucouré last night. I think Doucouré is a fantastic player, although he did go a little bit of sleep towards the end of the last season for Watford. I think James Rodriguez has found the right club for himself. He struggled, we've seen at Real Madrid, but I just think there's so many stars at that team. There's so much expected of you. I think Ancelotti is the type of manager that will get the best out of James Rodriguez. As Nathan said about Richarlison, I think he can shine as well with better quality around him. And they've, I think he's going to bring that defence on a lot better as well, with the bit of coaching that he's done in the closed season. So I just like the look of what Everton have signed. I think they're better in a better place than they were at the end of last season with regard to the options that they have there. I think Gylfi Sigurdsson will be better with the competition that he'll get from James Rodriguez. I think Gomez will be back fully fit again. He came back obviously after that terrible injury, and it took him a while to find his feet again. So I think he will be better. Look, the big worry for Everton, as it has been for so long, is Jordan Pickford. That is the main concern. But I think they have the quality to compete for the top 6. But just looking over the last 6 seasons, 4 of the last 6 seasons, it was the same top 6. Liverpool, City, United, Chelsea, Tottenham and Arsenal, 4 of the last 6 seasons. So that just goes to show you how hard it is to penetrate the top 6. The only teams that have done it were Leicester City. Who else have we got there? Southampton, remember back in the 15-16 season. So, you've got to be really, really, really good to get into the Premier League top 6. And while I think Everton will get close, I don't think they're going to get in there. So I'm going to go seventh place for Everton.
Big Sam Allardyce, big Carlo Ancelotti. Massive overachievement for this squad of players to finish 8th. That's me.
I think a better question would have been, what month of the season will Seamus Coleman come out and do his post-match interview where he says, we need to stop looking at the manager and start questioning ourselves in that dressing room? Without fail, every season. It's whether it's been international management or it's been club management, he's had to have that conversation. You couldn't trust this Everton group with your life. Again, like Jordan Pickford, do me a favour, they need to get somebody else in there. You cannot trust them defensively, even though I'm surprised to see that maybe they're signing Tomori from Chelsea, who I would have had as the best of the young Chelsea defenders. So that would be a bit of a coup to get him. But Michael Keane, is he a top 6 defender? I'm not sure he is. And they changed midfielders. It's a completely revamped midfield again and again and again. And it's just this wasteland of midfielders that they spent 30, 40 million on. Like Gylfi Sigurdsson, he couldn't do it at Tottenham. He's barely done it at Everton. He'll have 5 good games a season where you think, geez, he could be playing for Manchester United or Liverpool. And then he just fades into obscurity. And they have 10 of those players. Iwobi, Walcott, Bernard. I like Calvert-Lewin, and I think Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin is a good partnership potentially up front if that's the way they want to play. But again, Andre Gomez,
not supposed to be a superstar.
Moise Keane's gone back to Italy by all accounts.
James.
Scored one goal. Maybe James Rodriguez turns out to be some sort of the genius we saw in 2014. Would you stake your life in it? No. And that is this Everton team. You have no idea what Everton is going to turn up. I wouldn't be surprised if they went and won a couple of games well at the start of the season and James Rodriguez scores a couple of smashers, but they will fade into obscurity again and they'll finish somewhere between 8th and 12th, and Carlo Ancelotti probably won't see out the season.
I'm going for 7th here. Everton never start well, so I think that's actually quite optimistic, even from that standpoint, Nathan. Right, question number 9. OTB AM is live in association with Gillette, by the way. Good morning, start with Gillette, giving you the confidence to tackle the day ahead. Number 9. The manager of the season will be blank. I'm going to start this off, lads, and I'm telling you, Ralph Hasenhüttl is in with a shout of becoming manager of the season. The way you're talking there is not going to be a standout one-horse race this year. There is actually going to be a battle at the top, and therefore it won't be a foregone conclusion of, let's give it to Jurgen Klopp or Pep Guardiola at the end of the season. I think we're going to have a multiple-horse race. So I don't think it is going to be a foregone conclusion that a top-tier manager is going to get it. It therefore will go to an overachieving manager. Are any of the new clubs poised to do with Sheffield United this season is then the question. I don't think so. So that leaves last year's teams who will potentially reach the highest from them. For me, that is Southampton. They finished last season brilliantly. They've got a top-class goal scorer, as already mentioned, in Danny Ings, and they've got young players. I'm excited to see what Che Adams is going to do this season. I think he's one of the strikers to watch in the Premier League this year, and I think Ralph Hasenhüttl, post 9-1, has been one of the best managers in the league.
Yeah, and you know what? There's talk as well at Southampton that possibly now with the departure of Højbjerg, that the Irish under-21 international Will Smallbone might play in his more natural central role, because obviously he's been out on the right-hand side for Southampton when he's played in the Premier League so far, but that's just because they had good quality in the middle there, so it'll be interesting.
Current Irish international, of course. Current Irish international. Yeah. We're not sure if he's going to make it all the way to the senior team or if he might end up in Jack Grealish. Yeah.
That is very true. But so just regards to the manager of the season, I think Bielsa, I think Leeds are going to do well. And I know, Nathan, you were saying that the squad that they have there, you don't see any players there that really strike you as the kind of, like everybody last season was predicting Sheffield United would be relegated, that they would be bottom of the table. And you look through that Sheffield United squad, they didn't really buy big names last season. And a lot of the players that got them up from the Championship were the same players that got them into contention for the top 6 last season. And I think Leeds United might surprise a lot of people. And they've no real other, they've got no other competitions that's going to be distracting them throughout the season. They can just focus on the Premier League. And for that reason, I think Leeds are going to finish high up the table. And I think Bielsa is going to get the manager of the season.
Bielsa.
It'll go to whoever wins the league. So Jurgen Klopp.
It doesn't, again. But it doesn't always though. That's the thing.
It's usually
that's the question, right? What if Frank Lampard finishes second and runs Liverpool all the way to the last day of the season? I mean, does he automatically? Do we have to just take this into consideration that there's some weird weighted PRS TV that actually automatically has him as number one on a load of ballot? I don't know.
Yeah. Do we get to come back at the end of the season and decide on our manager of the season? I like Steve Bruce. If Newcastle were to have a decent run, and they've obviously appear to have signed quite well, if he finishes top 6, he's very popular within the game. So he probably, if he finished 7th, Steve Bruce would probably win Manager of the Year. If Graham Potter could get Brighton into the top half. So I still think the Manager of the season will be, like, if Jurgen Klopp got Liverpool to back-to-back Premier League titles, he'll win it.
I actually... No, Espirito Santo. That's what's going to happen here.
We haven't spoken about Wolves, and it feels as though there's a sort of, well, now we know how the sausage is made with Wolves, with this George Mendes, Matt Doherty move to Spurs, and all these players they're buying from Portugal, that suddenly people are waking up again to what's happening at Wolves, that this isn't some great underdog story, that actually is very much a business plan as to how they're going to achieve things. And that, like, they were sort of everybody's second favourite team to watch over the last couple of seasons, but now you're like, ugh, it's all a bit grubby. But still, they still have a Adama Traore. They still have Raul Jimenez. It doesn't look as though they're going to sell anybody. Coach. So, like, they could well push it on into the top 6.
Right, that is your manager of the season predictions. I still think, Nathan, you need a bit of narrative for the top for the top tier winner to actually win. You need, so like the narrative being Manchester City are outrageously good, or Liverpool have won their first league title in 30 years, and people kind of fall for that. I think we're kind of out of stories at the top tier, unless of course Frank actually does the business for Chelsea, and in which case it will be insufferable just how well glorified he will be at the end of the season, and will definitely win it. Anyway, question number 10. The Republic of Ireland star of the Premier League season will be blank. Nathan. It could be left blank.
Dara O'Shea.
Nice shout. Is he going to start? He's going to start every game?
I think they'll find a spot for him. He can obviously play all across the back four. So I think, we'll see a lot of him, and could well end up forcing himself into the Irish team by the end of the season. It's very difficult to predict because we don't know who is going to actually play. Like Aaron Connolly, can he get a run of games and a run of goals that suddenly elevates him to a whole new level? He's probably going to start the season with Brighton in a similar spot where he's, in one game, out the next game. I think Seamus Coleman could well have a big season. Sidibe is gone from Everton again. There hasn't been a huge amount of rumours about somebody that they're going to bring in to put a bit of pressure on Seamus Coleman. So an opportunity to maybe prove a point now that he's lost his place in the Irish team. So I think Dara O'Shea would probably be my pick, and then maybe Seamus Coleman second to surprise everybody.
Michael Obafemi.
Why?
He's going to get in the team. He's going to score goals. He's got a little chip on his shoulder from not getting in the Ireland senior squads. Away we go.
Stephen Doyle, who are you going for?
I can see Nathan's argument for Darragh O'Shea. I really want to see him doing well. It depends what position he's going to play in as well. Will he be right back, which he has been for the second half of last season? Will he be centre back, which is his natural position? I think West Brom, I think they're going to struggle a little bit this season. And so I think Darragh O'Shea could be under the cosh a little bit. So I'm going to go for Aaron Connolly. I know it's probably a boring nomination, but I just think he's figured out the Premier League now. I know he kind of burst onto the scene with that brace against Tottenham, and he struggled then to find the net after that. But he finished the season well last season, I think, and I think he's figured out the Premier League, and I think he's matured now over those last few games of last season, and I think he's going to be a lot better in the new season. I think he's going to score. I think he could be into double figures this season goals wise. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to go for. Republic of Ireland star of the Premier League, Aaron Connolly.
I'm going for Connolly as well. I think that there's been enough lack of business done, which is what you want for a young forward who's going to come into the club and actually challenge him from his position as somebody who plays every second game or starts every second game. Now, of course, they brought Adam Lallana in, but maybe Adam Lallana is that wing that Aaron Connolly will nestle under for the season and grow into this top-class player. He is the youngest of their attackers who plays regularly as well. He has the greatest opportunity for growth. I think Aaron Connolly is going to be the player of the season. Interesting how nobody even considered Matt Doherty there.
Expectations are quite high for Matt Doherty.
True,
so.
you kind of want a bit of a reach, I guess. Right, that is the end of our specific crystal ball questions. But finally and quickly, we're going to rattle through our predictions for your top 4 and your bottom 3. Stephen Doyle, why don't you start us off here?
Okay, I'm going top 4, Liverpool to win the league, Manchester United to finish second, City third, and I think Arteta's going to do the business for Arsenal and get them back into the Champions League. Arsenal at 4. So it's Liverpool, United, City and Arsenal, top 4. My bottom 3 then, I'm with Nathan on the whole Roy Hodgson thing. I think Crystal Palace are going down. I don't think Fulham have a good enough squad to stay up as well. I think they're going down. I think Aston Villa have showed us last season that they're pretty poor, and they just about got out of relegation. They're about to splurge £28 million on Ollie Watkins, who scored 20-odd goals in the Championship last season for Brentford. I think it's ridiculous money when you consider James Rodriguez came in for £20 million for Everton. They're spending £28 million on an unproven Premier League player, Ollie Watkins. It's ridiculous. Villa are going down. So Villa, Fulham, Crystal Palace. Sorry, Ger.
Go on. Go on. You can refute that, Ger, and then give us your top 4 and bottom 3.
Top 4 are... and Liverpool finished 3rd and Chelsea in the top 4.
We missed your first 2 there. Sorry, your internet connection just went down for your first couple.
Manchester City are going to win the league. Manchester United are going to finish 2nd. It's going to be Liverpool 3rd, and it's going to be Chelsea 4th. And the bottom 3, I agree with Palace. I think the Burnley situation, purely because of they don't believe, they haven't given Sean Dyche what he needs. They don't trust him enough. It's ridiculous. They should have done. So those 2, so Palace, Burnley, and West Brom for me.
Wow, so Fulham stay up. Nathan?
Bottom 3 will be Aston Villa, who just aren't going to score enough goals. We will also have... Sorry, I think I lost you there for a sec. Aston Villa, West Brom, and Fulham will be my bottom 3. And then top 4, Liverpool to win it. Manchester City 2nd, Chelsea 3rd, and Manchester United 4th.
Jay, I've gone for pretty much the exact same thing, Nathan. I think that this idea that there's going to be a big change at the top of the table is misplaced. I think Liverpool 1st, City 2nd, Chelsea 3rd, United 4th, and on the bottom 3 as well, I think Fulham are finishing last, Villa 2nd last, West Brom 3rd last.
I think it could be a brilliant Premier League season, though, because Chelsea and Manchester United are both absolute wildcards in terms of how good they could get to. But also, it doesn't take a lot for them to drop back quite a bit. Manchester United got over 20 penalties last season. I know it was all competition. That's not going to happen again. Have they improved defensively? Like, the pressure that will come on Solskjaer, all those questions will come up again if they go on a bad run. So, yes, they have the ability to go and actually maybe even challenge for title on the best of what we saw. But I also think there's a big fall off there for United if it doesn't go well.
Why is everybody so reluctant to say Arsenal will go into the top 4 this season?
Because they're Arsenal.
Yeah.
Well, they've strengthened at the back. I think Kieran Tierney's going to get a full season, fully fit season with Arsenal, which he didn't have last season. He's a brilliant player, and I think he's going to bring them on leaps and bounds this season. Bellerin as well. I think obviously he only came back from an injury. I think he's going to be a lot better this season. I think he's more committed to the club now. The fact he's seen they brought in so many good signings, they've strengthened in their back four. And,
2 new centre backs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're going to be good for them as well. And as well, I think Willian, is the right kind of player Arsenal needed in the attacking sense. Brilliant for set pieces. As I said earlier, an assist machine. I think he's just what Aubameyang needs to score more goals. I think, and Arteta's shown, like he shows he can coach players to be better players, and he improved Arsenal in the second half of last season. I think they're definitely going to finish top 4.
All right, Stephen Doyle, Nathan Murphy, Ger Gilroy, it's been a pleasure as ever. That has been our crystal ball looking into what is definitely going to happen in the 2020-2021 Premier League season.